Hi BookTube, this is my weekly wrap-up for March the 23rd through today. We're just going to call it today.
I got my ticket for the long way round. 2 bottle whiskey for the way.
As you can see, I am not in my normal filming location. I'm away from home and this is a hotel room. And the lighting's terrible and I've had all kinds of trouble trying to get this video done. So, apologies, and let's just move on because I hate it when people sit and apologize at the first part of the video. So anyway, I am fresh from the beach, having read 6 books this week, and let me tell you what they were. First one was called Tabula Rasa. It is by Kristen Martin Lippert. That was an ebook that I received from NetGalley. It's an e-arc. And it was a really, really adventurous roller coaster of a book. Oh my goodness, I did not expect that. Tabula Rasa, the term, actually means like innocent, completely innocent, blank slate, completely untouched. And that's very fitting for the plot of the book. The plot follows Sarah, who is a girl, and when we meet her, she's in a hospital having brain surgery. The procedure is interrupted and she's taken back to her room where pretty much all hell breaks loose. The power goes out, she hears gunfire, and she has to escape from her room. This leads to a whole host of other things that happen. We meet Pierce, the other main character, and this thing just turns into conspiracy theories and bad guys and POWs and one lunatic crazy person. So it is one thrill ride. I'm telling you what, the action just does not stop, and it's really, really entertaining. It's like watching an action movie, which I really enjoy those. So I gave it 4 stars, and I believe that comes out in November. Next up, I read +1 by Elizabeth Fama. This is also an e-arc, and I forget when it comes out. I'll put it right here. And this was an interesting book. First of all, the cover is absolutely gorgeous. And for a romantic like me, I took one look at the cover and thought, oh, this is going to be a Romeo and Juliet story. It's going to be, oh, star-crossed lovers and all that. No. No, it really wasn't. The story follows Soleil Lecoeur, who is our main character. And it's set in a dystopian world where the population has been separated due to the flu epidemic in 1918. You have the people who live and work during the day and the people who live and work during the night. The night people are called smudges, the day people are called days. And the day people really have it better because, circadian rhythms and all that, they have the better jobs, they have the white-collar jobs, the college education required jobs. And the smudges, who are the people that live and work at night, they do all the things that make a society run. Like they work in the factories, and they work doing maintenance and cleaning and upkeep, and you get the picture. Soleil is a smudge, and she purposely injures herself and gets herself sent to the hospital so that she can kidnap her brother's new baby and take it back to visit her dying grandfather so he can have one last moment of joy. Okay. Right there should tell you this plot is so convoluted and stuff coming out of nowhere and what is going on. And then there's a romance. It's kind of insta-love, but it's kind of not too. It's built up through flashbacks, which is a very sweet, sweet part of the story. The main characters are really interesting and the writing is good. It's just this plot is like, huh? I kept kind of doing that. So in the end, I gave it 2 stars. Last week I pulled a book out of my TBR jar, and that was Ashes on the Waves by Lindsey. And this is a gothic romance. It's a contemporary gothic romance, and I was not really very familiar with this genre. When I think gothic, I think Wuthering Heights and Edgar Allan Poe and that kind of thing. The book is actually based on the poem Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe, and very fittingly so. It's kind of like star-crossed lovers kind of thing off the coast of Maine, an island off the coast of Maine. And I could go into a lot of detail about the characters and plot, but suffice it to say that about halfway through the book, we meet supernatural characters who are names of things I can't pronounce. I did get banshees, but it's all kind of Gaelic mythology. And so these 2 warring mythological creature factions, they make a bet that the lovers can't stay together if you throw obstacles at them. Basically, the idea is that humans are selfish and self-centered and can't be depended on to overcome love on any kind of a level. Well, the war just kind of gets ridiculous and the plot gets kind of weirder and weirder. And I think if you are a fan of Gothic fiction, you might really like this. It's a pretty decent story. I wasn't overly impressed with the main protagonist, who was Liam. He seemed kind of like, I don't know, not as strong a person as I would have liked. And then Annabelle, or Anna, was too wide a contrast, I think. She's from the real world, he's from this island, and there's a huge difference in the way that they grew up and the things that are important to them, and I think you could probably call it insta-love. It just really wasn't my thing, so I gave it 2 stars. When I was traveling to come down here, I had about a 13-hour drive, so I decided I would listen to Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. This just came out, and Colleen Hoover is dependably good in terms of contemporary new adult fiction. I love her writing. I fell in love with her with Hopeless and then Losing Hope, and then I read the slammed books. I wasn't as impressed with those, but those came before Losing Hope and Hopeless. And now this is the next one. It was a good story. The thing I love about Colleen Hoover is that she has publicly said that she will always give us a happily ever after. And of course in this book you do get that, and she goes a little further than the happily ever after, which I kind of like. You know, it's not like the big moment and then it's all over. It's more like, you know, the big kiss, the big climax, and then we go a little bit beyond that. This story is, you know, your basic boy meets girl. They can't have each other. They can't get together because of circumstances. And I have to say, in this particular story, there were times when I looked at the relationship between these 2 characters and thought, are you people crazy? It seemed so black and white from a reader's perspective, but from their perspective, and when we got inside their heads during the course of the story, it seemed very complicated and very gray because of all the emotion and all the feelings and everything. So I still really liked it. You know, can't go wrong with Colleen Hoover. I really enjoy her writing, and so I gave it 4 stars. Oh, and by the way, that was narrated on audio by Angela Goethals and Zachary Weber, and they are astounding. They're so good. They just embody these characters, and you really feel like you're kind of living out the story with them. So they really did a great job, and I am hoping to read more of the things that Zachary Weber narrates, because he's really good. He's Tamara Weber's son, and she wrote the book Easy, which is, again, new adult contemporary. And then the week went up from there. I read Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. This is narrated on audio by McLeod Andrews expertly. He was David, the main character. He really was David. I just loved that. This is the story of a calamity that happens in the sky in a dystopian United States, and it turns people, various people, not everybody, but it turns most of the population into some sort of a superhero. They get these powers that manifest, and most of them are terrible people who want nothing but power and are very greedy, and they're very selfish, and they turn into what's called an epic, which basically is a super villain. So they take over everywhere, and they run the cities, and they bully people, and they can't be defeated because they're superheroes. Except they're not heroes, they're super villains. So David's dad gets killed by one, and he sees a weakness in this epic, whose name is Steelheart, and he knows that Steelheart can be defeated. So he's just got to figure out what that is. Well, this happens when he's 8 years old, and he spends the next 10 years trying to figure out how to defeat the epics. And he gets all this information, and then he decides he wants to be part of this kind of guerrilla resistance group called the Reckoners. And they're like, you're not what we need. And so he kind of, I don't know, wedges his way in among these people. And this story was so good. It was just, it's all about inequality, and there are themes of just the value of changing the whole system and not just hitting little things that really won't make any changes, any long-lasting changes, having a broader vision of leadership and that sort of thing. And as the book came to a close, all of these things began to be revealed. All these kind of new revelations came out, and it was really good. I really loved it. If you're a fan of Superman or Spider-Man or Captain America or any of these sorts of stories, you will love Steelheart, and I'm really looking forward to the next book. I gave it 4 stars. In my Friday Reads last week, I told you that I would be raving like a crazy, lunatic, mad woman over this book that I was reading, and it was The Martian by Andy Weir. This book was the absolute pinnacle of my week, of my year, so far. It's an adult fiction book. It's science fiction, and it is the story of Mark Wattley, who is an astronaut who gets stranded on Mars. He goes there with the Ares 3 crew, and 6 days into their 3-week mission, a dust storm comes up, and he gets impaled by an antenna from the communications array and falls down a sand dune, and they think he's dead. They look for him, they can't find him, the dust storm is raging, they've got to leave, so they leave Mark on the surface. Well, they think he's dead, except, he's not. And then the story becomes how Mark has to survive, and can he survive, and what's going to happen. I was riveted by this book. I was riveted. The whole thing is told in journal entries by Mark as he, as time progresses, and he's got to figure out how to make water and how to eat. What's he going to eat? How long are his rations going to last? And can he grow anything? And how's he going to fix this thing? How's he going to ever, is there any hope of communicating with Earth? It's also told from the point of view, in third-person perspective, of the people in Houston or at NASA who discover from satellite photos that this guy's alive, and oh my gosh, how are we going to get him home? So the tension builds and builds and builds, and I got 3/4 of the way through the book, and I thought, if Andy Weir kills this guy, I'm going to be so mad. Well, I'm not going to tell you what happens, because it's just this fascinating journey of this guy to try and get home, and you never know if he's going to or not. The journal entries that Mark makes are full of a lot of technical description, and yet it's like he's talking to laymen about how he's going to make this happen. And I never minded any of that, because he's such a wisecracking smartass that he would throw these comments in. It's just, there were laugh-out-loud moments. A lot of the moments were laugh-out-loud moments, while you are feeling for this guy and you're thinking, oh, I got to get him off of Mars. Like, oh, how are we going to manage this? So the book on audio is narrated by R.C. Bray, and I will often say you need to read the book in print because the narration is mediocre to bad. Once in a great while, I will tell you that you really must listen to this book rather than read it. And this is one of those times when I absolutely have to say the book is so much better on audio than it would be in print. R.C. Bray embodies the voice of Mark Wattley. He is so good. And then there are some secondary characters who are members of NASA, and he does those expertly. Just the whole book is, if you are a fan of science fiction at all, you will love this book. I guarantee you need to listen to this book because it's so fabulous. I've kind of started this thing now where I go through my unread shelf. I've put all those books into a TBR jar, and I've pulled out one. Well, this week I pulled one before I left because I knew it'd be gone, and it was Struck by Jennifer Bosworth. Anyway, that's it for now from me, from the beach, with my beach hair, and it was freezing at the beach today. My gosh, I was wrapped up in a blanket with a hood, and they took pictures of me, and I looked ridiculous. Anyway, I will see you on Friday with Friday Reads. So until then, thanks for watching.
I'm gone. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my walk. You're gonna miss me by my talk. Oh, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone.